we could spend a weekend together. And on the other side, Gravity is like getting more ready than ever. And right now, the only thing delaying the launch of the course is that we really want to have momentum when we launch the course. We fear that maybe we'll launch the course and we are going to have no students or very few students. So like right now the content is almost ready and we are just waiting for the right time. And on the other things, I'm feeling fine. Um, I don't have any distractions, and I will pass it to Tam.
Thank you, Wonka. Um, Overall, I think everything is great. It's a very exciting year for me because myself and my family are moving to another country. So in general, I would say I have some elevated stress around that because there's so many moving pieces and so many things to get right. But things are moving well in my personal life, so I'm pretty content. Everyone's healthy, like Wonka said. Everyone is doing well. So I mean, what more can you ask for? And I'll pass to Isaac.
Thanks, Indy. Yeah, so personally, I'm doing pretty good. Kepler just, he turned to a little bit over a year now, and so he's, running around and being a little bit more autonomous. So I think, it's finally feeling like I have a little bit more trust in letting him do things on his own and not having to constantly show my attention there 100% of the time. So it frees me up to do a little bit more in my personal life, and so it's really nice to have that feeling back. But yeah, outside of that, everything is really pretty good. I think things are just getting easier with Cap, and that feels nice. So I'll pass it over to MD.
Hey guys, so glad to be again here. Johnny speaking, looking forward to be involved more with TEC and a couple of other Web3 groups, and yeah, focusing on my startup in Lebanon, Middle East. Started it a year and a half ago, and despite the tough economic situations, it seems to be going fine. And that's it. I'll pass it on to John.
I think Joseph, maybe. Joseph, do you want to go?
Yeah. Um, Personal life, kind of stressed, but definitely not too stressed. I have one or two members of my family ill. I'm in the current, as well as I'm in the current process of applying for a student visa for Brazil. Couldn't find my birth certificate, so had to apply for a new one, and so that's had a knock-on effect with like other plans and flights, accommodation, and so forth, so forth. So just going through that procedure. Yeah, and a few other things, but yeah, that's about it. I'll pass it back to you, Gideon, because I think everyone's gone.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, for me, life's going well. Celebrated a nice Mother's Day. Our older son was here this weekend, and we all went kayaking and just hanging out. It was really nice. And then next week, I'm actually going to be out for a day and a half. We are going to my youngest son's graduation from college. So now we really are done with all of the college stuff. Yeah. So that's what's going on with me. In general, all things are going pretty well. This may be a shorter call. Again, like last Thursday, we had kind of a shorter call. I think this is maybe another one, but we'll see. Focus today is largely going to be, we'll do some quick updates, and then we want to talk about meetings and events. Isaac's got some stuff he and Tam have talked about last week, and then there's some questions about kind of more programmatic events that I want to just get some input on. I'll start with an update. Several of you I know have seen it already, but I did publish the what I'm calling project prospectus. Prospectus is just in the sense that like these are prospects, like these are it's like a category. That's what a prospectus is, but it's a category of potential things that we could be working on in the shorter term. So it doesn't include the bigger projects that still need some definition, such as the merge, the AI project, the move to optimism from Gnosis, and kind of the next step for the curation service. But it does have some other things in there. I put it in the coordination channel, coordinators channel. So please take a look at that when you get a chance. And Isaac will talk a little bit about what our next steps are for that. I also am in the midst of, well, pretty much done with like the first draft of a large grant to ENS, and in conversations with Griff about basically just reviewing a contract to outsource some of our grant writing to General Magic. So that's good. There are a few other things, but I'll stop there. Nate, one thing that would be good is if you could just give folks a quick update. I saw that that the curation service is now working on our server. Can you give us a quick update?
Yeah, so we onboarded the new bot into our server. So this is the curation service that will lead to a kind of a larger database through ArangoDB. And what our plan is, we can submit just like we've always submitted. But now we have a nice front-end onboarding process through Meme. So working with Meme and Common Sense Makers on this curation service. We're currently developing a roadmap for it for the short term and long term. Right now, the idea is that we can have the people on board through this kind of friendly UI, put the bot into their Discord or wherever the Slack. It has a lot of different input options. But it all go to the same database, and then using ArangoDB, we can pull those sub-libraries out from ArangoDB to these Notion databases that we can have published for these different niche communities, whether it's people who are interested in bonding curves or reputation systems, which are going to be our first two kind of sub-libraries that we're going to focus on curating and going through this process of trying to build high-quality information aggregated into one area. And then, long term, we're looking at how to build features and ways for the end user to derive value from these libraries through things like AI or different features like that. So we do have a lot of different areas that we're looking into, and I think CAD is one of them. They have a lot of model libraries, so it'd be really interesting to create widgets around that if they want to have some type of library for all the tokenized models that are being submitted by the community. So there's a lot of really interesting aspects to it, and yeah, we're meeting every Wednesday, and yeah, we're gonna have kind of our first sprint planning, not this week but next week, and then we're just gonna move from there.
Okay, I'm gonna just share my screen real quick because Shahar shared this on the Share It channel today. This is the Notion view of some of the links, and it's pretty. I mean, I gotta say, I think it's pretty cool. Everybody see this? So it's exciting. I think it's really exciting just to see how this is starting to build. Like here's a link this is the link from the share channel that Shahar sent. But yeah, it's really exciting. It's great to see this momentum. And so this is one of the things Nate and I talked about last week about like how to basically start to pull this in as part of an integral component of our strategy. So there's some ideas floating around about that. Okay. Anybody else have updates?
I just have a mini update. I'm not sure if Nate's checked his DMs, but it's aligned with this. Nate asked me to populate an Excel spreadsheet for the Share It channel, which has all of the links hosted currently. So I've actually have finished that. So I just wanted to update Nate of that, and then also with regards to during the communication meeting on Friday, Nate told me a mastermind about potential like proposals for reputations that we might want to implement or look to implement or propose. Sorry, not implement. Sorry, propose for the TEA. And so I updated that document as well with some stuff from with a bit of research that I've done. So yeah, that's it for me.
Isaac, how about you? I have one question. You still need the NFT address, the NFT holder addresses, right, from Angela? Is that correct? Okay, I've got that on my list for my call with her tomorrow, so hopefully we can get it. Okay. So, first of all, Tam, thank you, and Isaac, thank you for uh, jamming on this. I think this is really helpful. This is the piece that was still kind of not baffling, but I still feel like we needed to nail down was like how all of these pieces of the sprint process actually fit into our calendar. So I think this is good progress. So I think one of the things that we could spend a little bit of time productively today is just talking a little bit about what. Oh, can you put that back up, Isaac? Or I can do it here. What is it? It's called sprints. Welcome to the sprints. There it is. Okay. A couple of questions that I have, and I want to just throw this out to the group. The Tuesday calls to me are still a little like this call is is a question mark for me, right? We've talked a few times in the past about just canceling these calls. We've talked about moving them to more of a biweekly rhythm. We've kind of just wrestled, frankly, with like what is the actual purpose of this call. And one of the things that we leaned towards a while back was using these as more of a way to kind of open up the coordination team to the full community for input. And in practice, that's worked a bit. We've got a few more people than just the core team who show up to this call, but we haven't fully embraced that. So we're kind of in this bardo or like in between space on this. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. And then the other is the coordinators meeting call on Thursday. What do we want to do with that on the odd weeks where we're not doing the sprint planning? One option is that we use those for talking about some of the things that we've talked about in the past, which has to do with like organizational development issues, just checking in with each other, strategy, kind of where we're headed, those kinds of conversations. So I want to just see where people are in terms of the usefulness of these kind of like they're less structured, more topical meetings. And the question is how useful those are. And then the other question is how open do we want to make those? Do we want to try to do a better job of opening them up further to people beyond just the coordination team? What are people's thoughts on this?
I think one thought with regards to opening up this particular meeting on Tuesdays to the wider, community and stuff is, if you want to have more people join, especially within Discord, within in the general chat, we can at everybody to let everybody know in the server. So a notification pops up on the Discord like, oh, we're having this meeting call on a Tuesday. Now it doesn't need to be every Tuesday. It could be like the fortnightly Tuesdays, like you said. But that could be one way if you wanted to make it more open up to the wider community so that they can kind of hear or even ask questions to us with regards to what's going on or whatever the case is. Or we can kind of leave that to the end of the month or first of the month, like kind of not AMAs, but what Isaac was saying he wants to implement with regards to speaking to members of our community and things like that.
I want to say that I think that meetings are cool, but that something that hasn't been so good is that we are only coordinating or hearing from people in these calls, and I think there should be other input mechanisms from the community. I think there should be polls, there should be surveys, and ways to hear back from the community, different than participating in a call. Because I think that there's people that maybe are not participating, but that are in the community, are stakeholders. And it would be really cool if we can design a way of receiving asynchronous input. Yeah, I think that the feedback loop is something that we can work on, because in this call we can give feedback, but if, for example, there are some survey or something, we can have like the sense of the whole community and of people that maybe is not so active in the calls. So nothing, just to say that I think there should be or it would be cool to have a survey, to know, and to also have some data to present to the community.
I definitely agree that a feedback, like tightening feedback loops, is something that we could work on as a task or a project. But I just to go to the meeting schedule, or to speak directly to that, I'm going to give a devil's advocate argument for Tuesday. There's something about meeting in the beginning of the week um, that energizes a project versus meeting later in the week. I don't know if everyone else feels the same, but earlier in the week, Monday, Tuesday, I feel so much more energy and maybe more hope because there's a whole week ahead of us. And then towards the end of the week, I don't know, it feels like we're wrapping up things versus getting things started. So there's a different energy in the beginning of the week than the end of the week. And that's the only piece I want to drop. I also think that it's maybe more difficult to get everyone's schedule aligned earlier in the week versus later in the week. And I guess the other thing I will say in general, I think everyone has voiced this. If there's no clear purpose or reason for a meeting, I think for sure we cut it until we have a purpose or a need to put it back on the calendar.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Nate? Looked like you were
Yeah,
unmuted.
sorry. Yeah, I definitely agree with the kind of meeting, just knowing exactly why we're meeting and meeting for the purpose. And I think that, if we have set kind of time periods and days and schedules that, it would be really nice to have meetings where we could say, hey, we're working on a particular project within this prospectus, for example. Let's have this availability there for us to say, hey, let's work on this project. Even if it's just, we want to make progress on one aspect of it, we can all get together and just say, hey, this is a time period that anybody can reserve for this purpose, for whatever reason that they might have, and be able to have that flexibility where we kind of, we each have that kind of personal time period where we know that this is a possibility that we're going to have a meeting here. And if there's something that we need to get done or an obstacle that we need to overcome or need help with other people, that we can actually reserve that spot for that purpose and use it that way. I like the idea of having these kind of flexible meetings where if it's not needed, then we shouldn't feel obligated to fill an agenda just to have a meeting. I need to get this done and I need some advice on this. Let's go ahead and be able to have that ability and schedule it. So that's just my view on it. I just would like to have more flexibility in how we, set our meetings and our.
That's a really interesting idea. Yeah, I mean, okay, so let me just build on what I'm hearing here. So one, pretty clear consensus, don't meet if we don't need to meet, right? I think we're all good with that. Two, Nate, I like this idea of basically maybe what we do is we hold the Tuesday meeting time. All of us, at least on the core coordination team, hold that time on our calendars and don't fill it. And know that if we all need, because sometimes it takes forever to book time with each other if we need to work on a particular project or something like that, and just knowing that we have that time to fall back on and use that slot if we need to is good. So I really like that idea. But basically make it more like just make it project specific. And then I think there's this kind of general sense that is growing that we need ways for, I think it's two-way flow of information. One is we need to be able to inform the community what's going on, and we do that in some ways through the forum. Bear's been doing some great work on updating people quarterly on what we're doing. But the monthly meeting is really interesting. I think especially if we can do it in a way that doesn't cost us a lot of time. That's my biggest concern about that, is how do we do that as efficiently as possible without getting, you know, stuck doing lots of reports. But I think we can probably do that. And then the other piece is the feedback coming in from the community. And so what I'm hearing is that surveys, you know, Honka, that might be like a really interesting way, but maybe go back to some Polis stuff as some ways of getting some input in a relatively open way. I guess one question is, you know, and Tam and Honka, this is probably more for you. You know, it's the one thing that has been nice about the Tuesday calls, but you two actually show up on Thursday calls too. So like, I don't know if it's really working that way. You know, there was this idea originally about like having people who are not on the coordination team but who are stewarding the TC, like giving places, like natural places for you all to plug in. How does that fit with you? Do you think that the like the every other Thursday call would be a way to do that?
I mean, I would think either could work, but maybe check with other people that we want to have join. I think as long as we announce what our intentions are with each meeting and the purpose, then we can organize them however works best. I don't. I think the Thursday would be fine too. I could change my schedule to have that second hour free. It's just it's not right now.
And yeah, I will be here every time that I can participate. I am happy to participate. I love the TC. I have my TC, and all my interest is that the TC goes well. So nothing. I even like this new position where I have less responsibility but more voice. At some point when I was a steward of Gravity, I felt that I had to prioritize my position of mediator than my voice as an active participant in the community. So nothing. I'm happy every time I am invited and I can speak.
Okay. Well, the other idea that I'm capturing in the notes is Tam's idea of maybe flipping these meetings around. Maybe what we do. So, Isaac, you and Mayor and I should talk tomorrow when we're talking about potentially flipping some of these things around, and maybe what we do is we use the Tuesday calls for some more of the sprint stuff, and then just hold use Nate's idea of the Thursday call, just basically holding that time, but not using it, just holding it in our calendars as like backup time where we can do like last minute coordinating on projects if we need to. So I'll let's maybe take this as kind of raw material for like how we shift the schedules around, and then we can come back to everybody next week with like some concrete recommendations. How does that sound to everybody? Okay, so I think that's it for today. Does anybody have any last any other thing to add before we call it?
I do just want to say that I think the daily stand-up thing that we're doing is it's a great solution for accountability, and I think that, you know, even if we, you know, even if it's not done once a day, maybe even, you know, every other day, like I think it's a really important practice that we all kind of adhere to. I'm just really enjoying it in terms of just kind of creating a checklist for each day and being able to kind of communicate with others on what we're doing. I think it's really important, and I'm really glad we're doing it.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I also love the daily stand-ups. I think it's for remote teams like ours, I think it adds an additional element of just a daily touch point with each other. And then for accountability, I actually think it's the most elegant solution.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. I'm so glad that we're moving in that direction too. So awesome. Okay. Well, with that, let's call it. Let's call it 20 minutes early, and we can all get on to some other stuff. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Gideon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.